Hey guys, welcome to Bet Karma Thursday night 2-minute warning. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with Bet Karma Zach and I'm Bet Karma Chris. Please, if you got a minute, subscribe to our YouTube page, Bet Karma. Check out our dfskarma.com page and soon to be coming betkarma.com. We also are on Twitter, there's a bunch of ways to reach us. Feel free to ask questions if you need to. But we're checking in here. We got about 1:38 left for those of you that are on cable TV, and probably close to 2 minutes if you are on a live stream. Usually a little bit behind. Brett, I know you didn't. Or sorry, I'm calling Brett. Sorry, Bet Karma Zach. I apologize.
It's all good.
I know you haven't seen a ton of this first half, but you've seen a little bit of stats. Did you get a chance to see that catch that Lockett made? Have you seen that yet?
I have not yet, no.
It's probably one of the better catches so far in the NFL season. Now, I know I'm the only one that took the Seahawks out of our group, but I learned a few years ago that on big games in Seattle, when I was sitting on the 49ers for like the end of a large parlay, and I was praying the 49ers could win, and Russell Wilson destroyed them by like 30, and I was just ready to cry in my own hands. I was like, I'm never going against Seattle in Seattle on a primetime game. So that's
there was a stat to that point. There was a stat last year. We played Cousins on the road in Seattle. A terrible mistake, and they came up with a stat that I think Russell Wilson in like primetime games in Seattle is like a ridiculous. I forget it off the top of my head, but like 17-2 or something. Straight up, and it's not worth fading Russell in these types of spots, to your point, I would say.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins, I don't think has ever won a game over a 5-1 team. That's why I was on the Bears this past weekend.
Last
year I bet I took Kirk Cousins in Chicago. It was like a Sunday night game, and he came in there and laid a stinker. So I just try to keep track of some of those old bets in the head.
Well, that's why it was kind of funny. There was actually a lot of a lot of public money, but I think some square sharps were on the Vikings last week. Assuming things were going to change this year with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings against that Bears defense on the road. And Brett and I learned from week 2 when he was at the Packers, that terrible throw, that, first down and goal, and he throws up a pick instead of getting the coverage by kicking a field goal or getting a touchdown there. And last year we picked the Vikings 2 times on the road, and Cousins stunk it up. So we refused to be on Vikings last week. And actually we put the Bears in our super contest pick. And so, yeah, obviously it hit. It was a nice play for us.
That was good. Seahawks, if you didn't see, Seahawks missed a field goal, and now the Rams are driving inside 30, about 32 seconds to go. So maybe they can get some points to get a little closer before the Hawks trash them in the second half.
I like the confidence.
I'm just hoping. Finally,
I think so. I think you're on the right side. I like the 1.5 because it moved from, I think the Rams were -1, so it's moved 2.5 points. But I mean, I still think Seattle should win this straight up, regardless. So
I think so. I've just been wrong on Seattle every week so far. So I'm.
Really?
Yes. So the first 4 weeks, 4 of my losses have come from Seattle. I got them against Cincy when they laid an egg. I took Pittsburgh when I went there. Then they lost the next week, and I took them. So I'm just trying to get them right one time. So hopefully tonight, and start off the week with a 1-0 and keep trucking into the weekend. Been looking at a few plays, and maybe you'll see what you think. What are your guys' thoughts on Atlanta? They're getting 5 in Houston. They have looked like trash 3 or 4 weeks, and they should have lost to Philly at home. So, where are you guys looking at this week on that?
It's a tricky game for us. We rewatched the tape on both Houston and Atlanta from last week. And just so you know, and I don't watch the games on Sunday. I actually rewind and watch them afterwards because I don't want to be affected by the commercials and the hype and the Twitter sphere. And it's actually, I think, more beneficial because I get to watch the game and kind of real time, front to back, and really see what's really happening. Like, why did this game go the way it went? So for that, rewatching it, Atlanta had a couple 4th and 1s and a 4th and 4 that, like, bad play calling, can't block, and Titans were, mulling the wide receivers. So that really just the Atlanta offense just couldn't get going, and couldn't make the play when they needed to. Mariota was okay. I mean, people were saying, like, oh, he's back. Like, he's not back. He's Mariota. AJ Brown took like a slant route, 70 yards for a touchdown. So good. It was really because Atlanta blew a coverage. It wasn't because Mariota or AJ, Brown is that good. And on the flip side, the Texans game, I mean, Watson, he's a little out of sync for some reason. And it might be because he's got new weapons. Remember, he's got Kenny Stills was new. He's got a new, backfield, new offensive lineman. So there might be just some like hangover, like initial beginning season hangover. But he like just missed Will Fuller like fingertips for like a 70-yard bomb touchdown. And I think he had DeAndre Hopkins as well for something that was like, he connects, it's another touchdown easy. And they strip sacked Kyle Allen 4 times. 3 of them were actual fumbles they recovered. And granted, Kyle Allen seems to be that kind of quarterback, and Matt Ryan's probably not going to do that. But like, Houston basically, to my point, left a lot of points on the field.
Yeah.
And so playing a bad Atlanta's defense, missing Keanu Neal, this line is basically the same as it was last week. So who's better, Carolina or Atlanta? You know what I mean? Like right now, I would take Carolina because they have a better defense.
And like to your point a little bit, Houston and Deshaun Watson, I think he's way under 500 during September, but his numbers from October to January go way up. I don't have the stats.
Good point.
Like it's like way beyond 500 from October to December. So,
and I could see that in part because I don't trust Bill O'Brien. I don't know how good of an offensive coach he really is. And so it makes me wonder if kind of as the season progresses, kind of like how an Aaron Rodgers and his systems, like sometimes he's not that good in the system, but once he gets more creative and kind of do whatever he wants, he becomes Aaron Rodgers. And to me, I wonder if that's a little bit of Deshaun Watson is, they kind of put the reins on him a little bit and say, oh, no, you need to do this. And that's not where he excels. Maybe he excels more, kind of getting free reign to do whatever he chooses.
And TD for the Rams to get within 1 here.
Oh, man.
That
1.5, man. I hope it doesn't come into play for your sake.
No kidding. I won't sweat it. They're kicking the extra point, not trying to tie.
It's too early to.
Yeah, so we'll see. I like Deshaun Watson. I like Houston. If their coach was a little better, I'd be all over them. I did take them for over 8.5 wins, sitting at 2-2 right now. I think they got a pretty good shot to get to 9 wins. I'll probably go with Houston. Just Atlanta something doesn't seem right there, and even Matt Ryan's just not playing like.
No, well, the offensive line's pretty bad, and I think I think Alex Mack, their center, might be out, and another guard.
Yeah.
So that's something to monitor too, because I mean, if they're going up against that, Houston front without 2 offensive linemen, I'm not sure much is going to change for the Falcons.
No,
in general.
He had a bad interception last week. He just, I mean, he was a top 3rd quarterback, and he's kind of fallen down. To 2nd tier.
Well, and if you know anything about Dirk Cutter, his offenses are more like vertical passing.
Yep.
And so, which means they basically don't run the ball well because the defense isn't really trying to stop it because they don't need to. And if you notice this in Tampa the last couple of years, their run game's garbage. And so if you're getting pressure on Matt Ryan and you're running vertical routes, well,
you can't get a throw off.
Where are you going to throw it to? You can only throw it, chuck it up to Julio Jones so many times. So
correct. All right, and then looking at what are you looking at? I know you guys are down. I speak to you guys, you and Brett on the Ravens. They're going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's defense has been playing lights out. And Pitt's getting 3.5 at home. I mean, that's
right now. So right now we're split. Brett thinks the Ravens are going to rebound, and I don't. And I think this is a bad line. I think this line should be 1.5, 1 maybe. Honestly, I would flip it. I think Steelers should be 1.5. So for me, I'm getting 4 points of value and through a 3 key number. Just seems like the only thing that I can say like maybe you shouldn't be on the Steelers is if Ravens rebound with a better coach in John Harbaugh, they let Lamar Jackson run some more, and Mason Rudolph kind of comes back down to earth and maybe isn't really ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, or maybe is really just meant to be a backup. So those are some variables that could like flip the script.
Yeah.
But my number one is I don't trust this Ravens defense to do much of anything. But then again, Steelers might be somewhat predictable. So it's kind of, I can see why someone might like the Ravens as like a rebound option. But I think the line's too high to actually like the Ravens. I think you can lean them, but at -3.5, I don't know what you're expecting unless you really think Mason Rudolph just sucks,
Sometimes
which is possible.
You look at a line like that, and it's almost like Vegas is begging you to take Pitt. They're like, they're kind of betting you, they're goading you into taking the Pitt, and everybody's slamming it and dropping a little bit. And then the Ravens come out and smoke them, and everybody's like, "Oh, what the heck happened?" And they're like,
I don't know, but I mean, these teams typically play each other tough, and if Steelers have a good defense, which they do, I mean, I just don't know how the Ravens are going to smoke them. Like just from a fundamental kind of like how these teams match up.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the line itself. Like you see, like sketched out a little bit on the line, then all of a sudden the opposite happens. And you're like, Vegas knew something you didn't.
Well, what I'm seeing right now though is I'm seeing it's kind of split on the tickets, but there's 80% of the cash is on the Steelers, so you're having bigger bets coming in on the Steelers, which it could be public money. There's a lot of Steeler homers and stuff,
right?
But could be sharp money as well.
There looks like there's some sharp money on it. It'll move a little bit. I think come back down. I bet towards Baltimore and get to the
3.
But interesting that a rivalry game, the home team is giving up, getting 3 points, 3.5 points there. Tampa Bay coming back from the West Coast, Superdome after a huge win for New Orleans. Yeah. The offense is struggling a little bit with Teddy, but their defense is picking up slack. Yeah. They have to. That's a must-win game for New Orleans. I think if any home game for them right now is a must-win. I don't think James is ready to get into a Superdome and win a game yet. So I'm kind of leaning. I'm thankful that he played so well last week. Mm-hmm. 9 on this game isn't 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I get where you're coming from, and it makes complete sense. But I'm going to go the other way, and this is the reason why. As I said in our podcast, the Sports Trading Desk with Brett on Sunday, we release it Sunday night, but people probably don't listen to it until Monday morning. Basically, it's our first impression of the weekend, recapping, and then looking into the next week, like opening lines. I'm from Tampa originally, so I grew up a Bucks fan until I started betting sports, and then I just don't care anymore. But paying attention to the Bucks the last 20 years, when I was a fan and then not a fan even, is I don't know if I've ever seen a Bucks team do what they did last week, which is, completely give away a game to a worse, inferior team, then have to go on the road all the way to the West Coast and put up that kind of performance. So to me, it speaks to potentially Bruce Arians really being a game changer for the franchise and for the team's kind of like mentality. So in a normal situation, like last year's Bucks, I would 100% agree with you with Dirk Cutter as coach. But this year, the reason we weren't on the Bucks in part was me, because I was like, I don't trust Jameis and the Bucks in this situation to not lay an egg against the Rams. But obviously they proved me wrong. So it makes me think that maybe they're not going to get too high on their horse. They hate the Saints. I mean, these two teams hate each other. Like, that's why last year I was on Fitzmagic week 1 at +8.5, because Saints were overrated and, just the line was too big, and they hate each other, which means you're going to get a competitive game if both teams are kind of playing at their peak. And I've been trying to fade Teddy Bridgewater, but he keeps just doing barely enough to squeeze out games. And like makes the team look good doing it because, like, wow, man, the Saints are good. But, like, he's not good. So at some point, is that going to continue? And I don't know, getting 3.5, they're 2 games at home so far. Houston, they barely won, definitely didn't cover. Dallas, they won, they covered, but it was a 3-point game. I don't know. I mean, unless Jay picks sixes, which he's done several times this year.
Did one let him all the way back in last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he almost gave the game away himself. So, there's always that possibility, but I'm buying into the team. If Shaq Barrett's playing, he's healthy. Dude's been eating it up. So,
what time is that game? That's a 1 p.m. game, so it's not quite as it is prime time.
Oh, and real quick, interesting stat on last year is Saints actually performed better against the spread last year on the road than they did at home. They were worse at home, which, obviously we all think, oh man, Saints are always good at home. But last year they actually underperformed at home compared to on the road. So just food for thought.
I think that the 1 p.m. game time for them, they don't do as well against, but like those primetime games, I think there's more energy. And I've been at the Superdome once and watched the Saints lose to a terrible Browns team. That was probably 9 years ago, where the punter ran for 70 yards on a fake punt. They did like a throwback to Colt McCoy. So I think like the 1 p.m. game time is like last year the Bucs went in there. A couple years ago the Redskins, like the first game of the year, RG3 went in there.
Yeah.
This year against Houston, the first game, it's like those first couple games, 1 p.m., they don't do great, and then as they kind of roll through the season. Part of that's a lot of these teams like New Orleans, they don't do too much in the preseason. Those guys in the offense.
Oh, and one more thing on that note. I mean, Bucs have been playing extremely well on defense against the run.
Yeah.
So they're vulnerable against the pass, obviously. Yeah. But if Kamara is not going to get going, those dump passes at some point, don't let them do dump passes and make him throw the ball down the field. And I don't think Teddy can beat you. So as long as Jameis doesn't beat the Bucs, I feel like there's a few more points of a few more variables rather on the Bucs that give them kind of the edge over the Saints in this, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yep. What are you looking at? Chicago it started, I think, was it 3.5? It moved up to 6 in the London game, and then the Raiders are home but in London against Chicago, and currently I have it at -5.5. I think that's what the Super Contest is this weekend.
Yeah, it's down to 5 on a book I use.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a revenge game for Khalil Mack, which is interesting to me. And Raiders are coming off feeling good about themselves, and I think this is their 3rd week traveling. So at what point are they getting kind of, just tired, just like you would be if you were going across country 3 times and then across the sea or whatever? And Tyrell Williams is banged up. If you watch that Colts game, the Raiders offense was a lot of Josh Jacobs, which the Bears can stop the run, and 2 tight ends like dominating like middle of the field.
Yep.
But that was it. There's no, like, Tyrell Williams had 3 catches. Like, there's no receivers. So against a good Bears defense, I wonder, how is Derek Carr going to really get any points? It's going to be a struggle if the Bears show up. So to me, it's either Bears or nothing.
Yeah, he likes to fumble too, and that's kind of like the biggest thing with the Bears. They're all going for that ball. Then you have Roquan Smith coming back from a personal matter. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he's fresh, got a game off, ready to go. Khalil Mack I think I saw a stat in the last 17 games, or 18 games, he has 17 sacks and forced fumbles, and Atini and then the Raiders in that same time period of 20 games are basically equal with the whole team to Khalil Mack. I mean, the guy's a freak. So to your point, they're definitely going to stop that run and get pressure on the QB. And if you've watched Carr in the last couple of years, when there's pressure on him, he doesn't do great things. Much less be accurate, but turns the ball over. And like you said, the Raiders will be their 3rd away game in a row, even though this is considered a home game. So I'm leaning towards Chicago in that one myself.
Yeah, and again, it's really a matter of if the Bears come in and they show up. And I do agree. I think this is a morale boost with Chase Daniels as QB, because I think Mitch is demoralizing to the team. especially because remember his expectations are higher than Chase Daniels. So no matter what Chase Daniels does, the team is already uplifted, whereas Mitch Trubisky only disappoints. So to me, the team should be motivated, especially, I mean, Khalil Mack's going to be motivated. Like, I mean, the Raiders wouldn't pay him. So, and it's against John Gruden. So I imagine he's coming for blood.
Yeah. And I think the guys like, from everything you hear, that Mitch is a good dude, and all the guys like him. But you're right; he's just not making that step forward. So Chase is a backup that can throw the ball. He did decent last week. They still only scored 16 points. It felt good, and then kind of at the end of the game, kind of looked like they might give it away. I think the defense gets tired from being on the field for 3 quarters.
I think that's it.
So if they could score some more points and take some more pressure off, it'd be good. What about your boy Kirk Cousins coming into the
Man, this one hurt. So last week we were on the Skins. Obviously that was horrifying to witness.
Not that the QB played particularly well in that game. If you watched it, but he got away with a few things, and the Redskins are just dreadful.
Yeah, so there's two things about this game this week that are hard to wait. One is the excitement in the Giants locker room and fan base because of Daniel Jones gives them the kind of like Tebow effect oomph. Whereas consensus was Tebow was a garbage quarterback, but what no one kind of took into consideration except me and Brett back circa 2011 or whatever it was, is his intangibles motivate the team, the city, the country. Like there's kind of it just takes things to another level, and you just can't, sometimes like it doesn't make any sense, but that's football. That's the NFL. So go ahead.
I was gonna say I am a Giants fan, like you were a Bucks fan, and once you start gambling, you kind of lose that fandom. But my family sends texts out in the first 2 weeks. I said I can't cheer for the Giants. They continue to play Eli. He is so terrible at football. So of course my old man, he's like 72 now or something like that, and he's like, "Well, Eli did that." I'm like, "Eli is terrible." So he's been fighting me on this Daniel Jones. I'm like, it gives the team hope because they know he can actually run and he might be able to pick up a first down, whereas Eli just they know what they're getting. So you're getting a new variable, which pumps the defense up, so they play harder because it's just a new hope. To your point, it's just like we got somebody other than Eli, and Eli did great. He won 2 Super Bowls, and you gotta love him. But for the last 4 years, you'd think they'd be at least make the playoffs, and they're not coming close.
And to counter that kind of like thesis is, if you look at the game last week, I rewatched the tape with the Skins. I mean, Skins completely gave the game away. This was by no means was this Giants or like Giants kind of winning the game. It was more Redskins giving away the game, except like kind of the opening of the game, the first quarter, where they get the momentum. But as the game wore on, I mean, the Giants are who they are. They're just not very talented, and especially with Saquon Barkley out. I know they're getting Golden Tate back this week and whatnot, but if the Skins can stop the run game, which they should against Gallman, it's going to be Daniel Jones or bust, and maybe he does it again. But he was down 18 against the Bucks, and the dissension in the locker room with Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and Cousins, that whole thing. I don't know if that's going to, you can guess either way. Is that going to play well? Is that going to play poorly?
Now, what is the whole deal with that? I know they couldn't throw the ball. I get that. And Kurt, like we've talked about, is an okay QB. But, what are they all mad about? 2 weeks before that, they were all like best friends. Like tired of him playing terrible in big games.
Yeah, I think it's the writings on the wall that he's not what they paid for. So kind of like, well, why don't we just keep Case Keenum and save money and upgrade our offensive line or, whatever. But I don't know. It could be some personal stuff. And, receivers are like, we see this obviously with Antonio Brown and OBJ, like, they all get pretty diva-esque regardless of the situation, no matter who's throwing them the ball. Like sometimes it doesn't even matter. So I think it's kind of like, I'm guessing it's more of a non-issue. And I don't think Cousins has actually played as bad as everyone thinks he did. I've seen much worse Cousins. I think the Bears defense is just so good that I don't think it mattered who's going to be quarterback in that game. I mean, yeah, he probably missed a couple throws, but I mean, when you're playing that Bears defense up front and they're healthy, coming after you, man, like that's not easy. That's not easy for any quarterback.
You don't even get 2 seconds to throw before someone's in your face, and you need a little bit of you guys to get open. I did see that. Now the game just kicked back off. We'll probably jump out of here and let you enjoy the second half. If you got any questions, please shoot us a tweet to Bet Karma Zach or Brett or myself or several others of us. Please subscribe to YouTube. You got to go to YouTube, put in Bet Karma. It'll pop up. You'll see Zach's beautiful face up there or mine. Hit the subscribe button, and then we'll be looking forward to you guys come on Sunday morning. Is that when you guys come on again? Or Saturday?
Sorry. Sunday night, we do our sports trading podcast. And we release Sunday night, Monday morning, essentially.
Time frame. And I know Bales and Bales come on Sunday morning, I believe. They do the Battle of the Bales brothers. And usually myself and one of the Bales brothers are on tomorrow for college picks. So check us out, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys.